What's up, my wizards? Dev from SBMTG here with
Tony,
that guy, and we're still doing set reviews. I mean, we're just doing this for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
Today we're doing black in Battle for Zendikar, and I think this is actually a pretty exciting color. A lot of good playable cards in this. I think. So, for instance, let's start with Obnixilis, reignited, and he's awesome.
Yeah. We've both been testing with Obnixilis a lot, and Obnixilis is just great.
He's so good. Like every single thing he does is good. Luis Scott Vargas, he says that everything that this card does helps you win the game every single turn.
Yeah.
You know, like drawing cards. Everyone loves card advantage. Blowing creatures away. I mean, that's one of the best abilities available, honestly. And that ultimate is doable because it's only 3 steps away from a starting loyalty. Yeah. And that puts a hell of a clock. Yeah. A hell of a clock on them. Like, even if you're not playing spells that draw you extra cards, like, it's still 4 damage per turn cycle.
Yeah, if you stick this guy in control matchups, and you end up getting that ultimate, it's just
done. And it's so easy. I mean, you're blowing away their best guy every turn that you can target with that. Or you're getting card advantage every single turn. Control wants to do both of those things. And actually, I think that this card could work in obviously mid-range shells. It could slot into Abzan. We'll have to see about that. But I also think it works in aggro shells. You know, we've seen plenty of 5-mana people play Stormbreath Dragon or Jutai and other 5-mana things at the top of curves now. Whisperwood Elemental, another one. So something, a 5-mana card at the top of an aggro curve is not unheard of.
Yeah, I feel like this could go into the Abzan aggro as
a
thing.
I think so too. I mean, you're blowing away their best creature every turn.
You get to blow away a creature or draw a card, which both are things that Abzan wants to do.
Yeah, and like aggro decks that play this Abzan aggro, Rakdos aggro, whatever, you know, I put it in 1 copy in Hardened Scales. What they want is to refill their hands.
Yeah.
You know, especially once we get to the 5th turn, that's about the time you're going to start really, really needing a refill. So he not only helps with that, he also helps keep creatures from outclassing you by just blowing them away. Like, that's everything the card does is good. It's definitely going to see play, this guy is.
Oh, yeah. Moving on, though, we've got Drana. Liberator of Malachite.
We've actually seen Drana before, but not in this form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. Wow. This is maybe in my top 3. Like, definitely my top 5 for the entire... I think this is a very, very good card. I cannot stress how much I like this thing.
Makes Mardu allies really nice.
Yeah, I mean, this is the whole reason to play Mardu and allies, honestly. Yeah. I mean, there's really, really good black creatures for that deck. Like, I think black-white allies is really, really good. But obviously, sort of at the top of the curve for that deck, this is the card, man, obviously. I mean, and, you know, we put it in Hangerback's in the deck. We put it in Hardened Scales. It goes really well in that, too, you know. All your dudes get 2 counters whenever it swings through. And it's got the first strike.
Yeah.
So first strike assures that all your creatures, if it gets through, will get the +1/+1 counter before they do combat damage.
Yeah.
So that's super important, too. Just incredible stats on the card. You know, it's ridiculous that it flies, and they put the first strike on there not only for its synergy, but like it just makes the card insane.
They have to be able to block this, or all your guys are going to be ridiculous.
Yeah, like the only thing that beats this early game is the Mantis Rider. You know, and it does get outclassed a little bit later game, but it's not like we're playing all the flyers in the world in Standard. We are playing dragons.
Yeah,
we are playing dragons, and like Hangerback Walker tokens will stop this. You know, it definitely has some things in the format that it does not get around, or at least keep it in check.
Yeah.
You know, but still, all that said, at the end of the day, the stats are insane. When it gets through for combat damage, it just makes your whole team just huge immediately. And Drana definitely in my top 5 cards. I love Drana.
Yeah.
Next is GDO, the Ghoul Draz Overseer. And like some people actually may like this. I'm not a fan.
I think it's perfect in Limited.
There you go. Oh, in Limited, no. I'm talking about Constructed. People are actually saying that this goes in decks. I don't think so.
In Constructed, I just...
people saying you make the vampires like the black-white allies deck, either one, you know. This goes in there at the very top of the curve. But no. Those decks already have a problem getting 6 mana. And even after you've gotten the 6 mana, you have to get more lands to make it work. It's just bad. It's a bad card. Like you said, in Limited, though, fine.
Like the Anthem effect for it is just awesome.
Awesome. But, I mean, it's not guaranteed. Doesn't happen every turn, and you just paid 6 mana for a 3/4 flyer, which is like outclassed by everything at 6 mana. So I don't know about that.
Exactly, that's the big problem with it. Next up, we've got the Black Retreat to Hegra, and this one is one of my favorites in Limited.
In Limited, yeah. The Death Touch is good.
The Death Touch part of it, There's potential landfall tricks and whatnot in limited right now. Also of note, the landfall trigger for each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life can be important for the white-black gain life deck thing.
Yeah, the one that whenever you gain life, do a thing. It's got a few cards like that. So I could maybe, but again, in those decks, you're sacrificing your entire 3rd turn.
Yeah.
And I'm not a fan. Speaking of not a fan, this is Painful Truths, and Painful Truths is bad, and you'd just rather play Read the Bones.
Yeah, that's the painful truth.
Yep, seriously. Truth hurts. Hard truth, you just... Read the Bones is better, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry, why is the card rare? Up next is Ruinous Path, which is everyone's least favorite substitute for Hero's Downfall, but that being said, Ruinous Path will see play whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
It will see play. By the way, this card has Awaken.
Yeah. Next up, we've got Defiant Bloodlord, and the card is bad.
Card's bad. Stop saying it's good. It's bad. It's bad.
Even at 7 mana for a 4/5 flyer.
That's terrible. That's terrible stats.
Yeah.
This is Carrier Thrall, and I like this card.
Yes.
I like it. Even for maybe budget constructed, depending with a Nantuko Husk kind of idea.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
You see that. I mean, you basically get to sacrifice 2 things to the Husk, or you sacrifice this and you get a thing that makes mana.
Yeah.
So there's things it does. I play Sultai Emissary sometimes in these budget decks that want creatures to die or want to sacrifice dudes. So I can just see this being another Sultai Emissary for all intents and purposes.
Next up is Hagra Sharpshooter, and
Card looks bad.
Yeah, I mean 3 mana 2/2 is generally not that great. And the 5 mana to -1/-1 until end of turn just isn't that great in limited.
In limited it's supposed to be good, and mana sinks are fine, but it's you're hardly ever going to kill a guy.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
There's so many 2 toughness guys and Eldrazi and things like that. It just doesn't do its job good enough.
A format full of huge dudes, I'm just not a big fan. This I like. This is a fine limited card. This is Malakir Familiar. It's probably my favorite when you gain life do a thing card. Honestly, especially for limited, just a 3 mana 2 power flyer is already good. They've added the Death Touch, so that makes it amazing against a flying Death Touch creature. Death Touch creature is very good. It takes out anything at all. So that's important. Plus the gravy on it is that it can get bigger if you gain life. I really wish it was a counter.
Yeah,
but that would be really good.
Yeah, if it was a counter, it would probably be too good.
Yeah. But in limited as it is, I think this is a great bread and butter creature.
Yeah. Next up, we've got Zulaport Cutthroat.
I'm in love with Zulaport Cutthroat, man.
Yeah, they basically gave us back a form of Blood
Artist. Yep.
But now it's a 1/1.
Yep.
And we're fine with that.
I'm okay with it. Love Zulaport Cutthroat. It's going to go in every sort of budget Black-White Allies deck. Really goes with, again, Nantuko Husk and those kind of creatures.
Yeah, it has some potential standard playability because we
think so.
Hangerback Walker plus Nantuko Husk.
Yep.
With this, just
we've got Rot Shambler, the thing whenever a creature you control dies, it gets a +1/+1 counter. There's 100 things that we can use to good effect with this card, and I think the deck will probably stay Black-White. I'd really like to use Rot Shambler in it, but same token, it could be a black-green deck. This card has a lot of good implications. I am a huge fan. It's a pet card of mine from this set.
Yeah.
So. This is Vampiric Rites, a card that I've been thinking an awful lot about, and I'm pretty sure it's bad. How do you feel?
I don't like that it's sacrifice a creature and pay 2 mana.
Yeah.
If it was one or the other. And I think it's really weird that it says gain 1 life and draw a card. Because black is always the lose a life, draw a card.
Yeah, I wish it was drain 1 and draw a card. You gain 1, they lose 1, draw a card. That would just be all the good things, and it's cool that it only costs 1. Now, if it were just sacrifice a creature and do those things, it would probably be busted.
Yeah.
Just free draw a card is nuts. It's not free, but again, we got Bloodsoaked Champion and a lot of other cards we can get back in this format.
Not only that, but token generators like Dragon Fodder, Hordling Outburst,
all the Eldrazi Scions.
Yeah.
So, the card has potential, but I'm not seeing it. And a lot of decks want to sacrifice Outlet, and a lot of decks want their sacrifice Outlet to only be... You play this on the first turn, set you up for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Sounds good. But overall, I don't think that it's definitely not busted, and it certainly doesn't even look pushed to me. Mm-hmm. So, I think there are also, one more thing, better sack outlets.
Yeah.
So.
Next up, we've got Rising Miasma, and this is... Yeah. It's okay in limited.
It's certainly no Drown in Sorrow.
Yeah, it's no Drown in Sorrow.
Yep.
There's plenty of bad things to say about this, but since we're trying to be positive and look on the good
Just focus
side,
on the positives.
yeah, in limited, this can help you combat those aggro decks, so it's decent sideboard tech.
Yeah, like this wipes out the allies, the black-white allies deck at least. You know?
Yeah, like there's plenty of things that this can combat in limited and whatnot and do well. So it's got its places, but I feel like it's mostly sideboard tech and nothing else.
Same here. Up next is Blood Bond Vampire, another good, solid limited card, but nowhere else. You know? I've seen a couple of people say maybe standard playability. I'm not at all. I don't think so at all. But in limited, fine card.
All day. Next up, we've got Altar's Reap, and fine reprint for limited. In standard, it's a potential sack outlet for some things.
Hangerback Walker.
Yep. So
you get like 3 1/1 flyers and draw 2. It sounds fine.
Yeah. It's not terrible.
Yep.
Just adds to the card advantage that you're getting in that way. So it's not terrible. I personally don't care for it, but at the same time,
it's not the best card ever.
Yeah.
Again, there are probably better sack outlets, but it's up there with like my top 3 sack outlets.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's not a bad sack outlet.
Like, I want to draw cards, you know, and I think there's a lot of stuff in the format that gives us good advantage for sacking creatures. You know, it's not really a downside in the right deck.
Exactly.
You know, but at the same time, I'm not sure. Like a one of maybe, you know. But I actually like this next card just the same or a little better even, I would say.
I do like that you can do it in response to removal, though.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. Or like you block with a guy and then sack it. You know, there's things you can do.
Yeah.
Bone Splinters you can't do that with because it's a sorcery. Yeah. But I do like the idea of, you know, again, sacrificing Hangerback Walker, getting some dudes, and destroying one of their creatures. So,
yeah.
I mean, again, it has some play. And I think that we might see one of standard play in some decks with this, you know, card, but it's not a guarantee. It's really not.
Yeah, it depends on, like, how big the format actually gets with all the Eldrazi and everything. Like, how much do we care about removing these bigger creatures?
Yeah.
Are we willing to sacrifice some of our little guys that get outclassed by them to just remove them?
I like removing creatures, and I like doing it for 1 mana.
Yeah.
You know, especially with all the tokens and stuff.
Exactly.
It could see play.
Next up, we've got Dutiful Return, and it's a fine reprint.
Yeah.
You'll love it in limited, and there you go.
Yep. Pretty much. I mean, this is a straight up 2 for 1. You know, Macabre Waltz is a 2 mana version of this, but you discard a guy.
So
or just, you know, discard a card. So it's not a 2 for 1. This is technically a straight up 2 for 1, but you know, and at 4 mana, it's actually a very decent card in limited. I've seen it played a lot of times in limited to good effect, but
yeah, 23rd card.
Exactly. Up next, we've got Demon's Grasp, and I'm a little mad about this card, honestly. We saw this art on MTG Art, the website. We saw this art like a month ago, right? And I was immediately like, oh, this is going to be good black removal. It just looks like the art for good black removal. And it is black removal, I called that, but it's not good black removal. The card is bad.
Yeah.
The card is just bad. You'll play it in limited.
And you're not going to be happy about it, but you'll do it.
Yeah, you'll do it. You'll do it. You'll do it!
Next up, we've got Calestria Healer. And this is another one of Devin's sort of pet cards.
It goes with the Cutthroat really well. You know, if you're playing black-white allies, sort of this and Cutthroat are the backbone of what you're trying to do in the deck. You know, just play 4 of each and go from there. And there's really not much else you can say about the card. I mean, just it looks good because it is pretty good. And again, this facilitates any of your things. You know, whenever you gain life, do a thing.
Yeah.
You know, so there's that too. I like everything about the card. I like every single thing about this card. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of like low-costed incremental damage and sort of life gain points there.
Yeah.
Between that deck archetype, so that is potentially going to be something that's actually very strong.
Yep. And you know, I like the push and the pull, the interplay between, you know, playing Eldrazi or playing allies. You know, Eldrazi are these huge dudes that blow out the game towards the end of the, you know, towards later turns. But Allies has a lot of cards like this to where you can gain life to sort of brace yourself for the impact of an Eldrazi hitting the board. Yep. And deal some damage in the meantime, you know, clog up the board with small chump blockers so that you can be ready for the impact of Eldrazi.
Exactly.
So, I mean, this is a necessary card in limited, and I think it'll see some standard play in budget decks. You know?
Fair enough.
Because Allies, it looks like the black-white or maybe Mardu Allies deck. We'll see some standard play, but only as like a B tier, you know, top 32 as opposed to top 8 deck. So
yeah.
Up next is Geyserfield Stalker. Right? I mean.
Yeah, I mean it's cool that it
probably
has
fine.
Menace, and the landfall trigger isn't bad for it because it has Menace, but it's still just meh.
You know, I feel like they made the card and they were like, this isn't impressive enough, so they just threw like Menace onto it. You know, like I don't know this card was always planned to have Menace, but I don't know. They have to do something with Menace. Like they've decided that's a keyword ability now, so like some cards have to have Menace.
I'll say this for coolness points: it's a black elemental.
Yeah, whatever. Looks cool. Art's fine. But I don't know. I'm not whatever. It's not inspiring.
Next up, we've got Nirkana Assassin. And Nirkana? Really?
Nirkana. Yeah.
They couldn't just put Nirvana.
Yeah, Nirvana Assassin. That would actually be funny. It's just a picture of Courtney Love. Anyway.
Gain life, gains death touch, 2-3 for 3 is okay. The death touch is a nice little added bonus, and it'll fit nicely in your ally deck and whatnot.
Everything about the card like screams tuned for limited to me, you know, and nothing else. Like even in the Black-White Allies deck where you want to gain some life, there are some cards that say, you know, obviously you gain life, you do a thing. This still doesn't look like great to me, so I don't care. In limited though, yes, limited death touch is a great ability, and a 3-mana 2/3 is good as well. So. This is Myers Malice. It is also bad. Card is bad. I would just rather play Mind Rot.
I would rather play anything.
Yeah, I mean, these discard 2 cards thing, first of all, it's a 2-for-1. We'll get that out of the way. It's a 2-for-1, and these cards are usually fine in limited.
Yeah.
You know, Mind Rot is good in sealed. That's what everyone always says. Maybe not draft, sealed. But you might play a 1-of in your sealed deck here, but I'm just not, I don't know. There's not much to be said about it, honestly. One thing before we move on, because there's not much to say. But its awaken cost is really not that far away from its natural converted mana cost.
Yeah, which is actually something that's nice to see.
Yeah, we haven't seen that. It's like 3 mana to play the card or 12 mana to awaken, and it's dumb.
Yeah.
That's dumb. This is at least a fair awaken cost.
Yeah.
You know?
Next up, we've got Calestria Knife Watch.
Calestria.
And
It's good and limited.
It has potential to be good and limited.
Yeah, right. But I don't know. I mean, 4 mana or 5 mana 4/4 we usually like. So 5 mana 4/5 is probably okay. And I mean, if you can make a game flying, it's like crazy.
Yeah.
So
then it becomes good.
Yeah. I mean, I like the card in limited, but you know, my problem is a lot of these. Whenever you gain life, do a thing. They're not constructed playable. You know, it's just I don't know how much I like it at all. But in limited, you probably play it. Here's Voracious Null. Like the card. You know, Nantuko Husk, but you have to pay for the sacrifice. But in exchange for for paying for that, you get counters instead.
Yeah.
Sounds like a fair trade. And I played one of these in Hardened Scales, just one.
Yeah.
You know, because you don't want to sacrifice a bunch of dudes because, you know, you're working hard to get counters on your guys, you know. But you have Hangerback Walker, Servant of the Scale, you know, there are reasons why you'd want some guys to die. So I figured he'd go as good as a 1-of in there, and in testing he's been fine. But I think most constructed decks are going to want to play Husk over this.
All day.
You know, all day. It's free, so yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Next up, we've got Wasteland Strangler.
God, we're in Eldrazi already.
Yeah.
Jeez. All right.
And this one is fine.
Yeah, this is a good card.
Get you a creature, removes one of their guys, finishes removing one of their guys, things like that. So all around, I'm happy with it.
I'm happy with it too. I mean, even before combats, this will remove a lot of cards, you know. And if you're playing like smaller creatures or allies and stuff, like -3 toughness is actually more than it looks like at first.
Yeah.
And like the fact that it's 3 power for 3 mana, that's really good, you know. I like everything about Strangler. I think it's just barely a step below standard playable, but it wouldn't surprise me if you saw this occasionally in Eldrazi decks. All right, this thing's good right here. This is Smothering Abomination, and the card is good. Yeah, I mean, the card is good. Everyone's already pointed out how awesome the card is, and some people say it's like their favorite card in the set and all this. I don't know about that. But for players that like to sacrifice creatures, this is a ridiculous card.
Oh, yeah.
4 mana, 4 power flyer that draws you cards. The last time we saw that was in Ravnica, Return to Ravnica block. Remember that guy, the blue-black guy, costs 4 mana, 4 power, you draw a card during your upkeep? Well, it's like the Bob ability. You look at the top card of your library, you lose life equals convert mana cost. Thank you. You played that card a lot. This reminds me of that card a lot, you know. And Deathspell Seer didn't see all the play. It really didn't. So I'm not sold on this card, but I will say it's at least very interesting and could go as the 4-drop in mono black aggro, Rakdos aggro. But in Rakdos aggro, you've got the red black 5 power Eldrazi guy to contend with the slot, and in mono black aggro, you've got to contend with Erebos' Titan in this slot. Yeah. So it's just it's hard to say how much play the card will see, but if we see a more like sort of the aristocrats, that kind of deck, then this card will slot in like super well in there. So
all day.
I'm looking forward to see some play.
Next up, we got Grip of Desolation, and at 6 mana instant speed to exile a creature and a land.
I actually think this could see 1-of play in control decks. How do you feel?
I haven't tested it, so I'm not going to submit that opinion.
You can have opinions before you test things.
Fair enough.
It's fine.
I know I can. I'm just saying I'm not going to submit that opinion. I agree with that opinion, I just don't submit it. I'm not giving it like a full-on stamp of approval.
Yeah, I'm not saying it definitely will or anything, but just with all the important lands in this format.
Exactly.
You know?
Like, that's why I'm thinking about it. Like, you're going to be able to remove a creature and either a man land or an awakened land or something like that. You know, you can do lots of things with this at 6-mana instant speed.
You know, against decks that want to play huge guys, whether you're playing against the green-red ramp thing that looks like it might be an actual deck, or you're playing against Eldrazi. There's also, even at 6 mana, the cards they're playing, this puts them behind a turn.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, that land destruction actually matters when we're playing, like, 8 mana cards. And, I mean, don't forget about Exile Creature. Like, Exile Target Creature is awesome. Like, that's crazy. So, I mean, I could see one of, only because it's instant speed. If this were not instant speed, it would never see play outside of Limited. But the fact that it's instant speed actually makes this an interesting choice for a control deck. Just as maybe a one of. Up next, we've got Skitterskin. I'm actually slightly impressed by this creature, to be honest. Especially in limited play. Yeah. Regenerate is crazy in limited. Regenerate is very, very good in limited. Because we really care about removal, you know, in limited. And so Regenerate is ridiculous. And it's 4 power for 4 mana. That's good, too. Sucks it can't block. That's terrible. Whatever. But good. I think it's probably just fine. Just, again, a hair away from standard playability. Especially with all the good 4-drops we've got running around. Yeah. But
that's the biggest problem. Yeah. We just have too many other competing 4-drops that are better.
This is sort of the bottom rung of the 4-drop ladder, but in limited,
all day.
Yeah.
All right, I get transgress the mind.
Transgress the mind.
Transgress the mind.
Transgress.
And it's fine. A lot of people want this to be like Inquisition of Kozilek, and I think this is a poor replacement.
This card's bad because it's not another card. Stop it.
Just look at the card, see what it does, and you'll like it.
Yeah, like, pretend that Inquisition never existed ever, you know? And also take the format into account, because Inquisition of Kozilek is things that are 3 or less. Yeah. This is 4 or more, or 3 or greater. Yeah. That's great.
This takes care of Death Misraptor. Yeah. Like, Death Misraptor just got so much hate, it's almost unplayable.
Yeah. Like, this is Disdainful Stroke without them having to cast a spell first.
Yeah.
Yeah, seems fine to me, and the exile on it is really, really good too.
Exactly, that's going to feed into a lot of Eldrazi tricks and things like that.
I mean, I know it's not Thoughtseize, it doesn't replace Thoughtseize, it's not Inquisition of Kozilek, but it'll probably see some play.
I've been testing with 3 and 4-ofs, and I am satisfied every time I cast it.
Yeah. I mean, control decks, yeah, I can see a 3-of. I can see that. In decks that I've built, there is the problem of it costing 2 mana. You know, 2 mana is a lot of mana for a disruption, spell. But at the same time, this will get rid of anything at all that you care about. I mean, anything that's going to completely bust you open later on in the game. And even in some decks, this will get rid of, board wipes and stuff like that. Yeah. The card is good. Stop it. The card's good. Here's Grave Birthing, which is fine. I think that
I'm very interested in your opinion.
Really? Yeah. Really? Because I'm pretty sure that it's not playable, right? Like standard playable. Standard playable.
Standard playable, maybe not.
In limited, it's fine because, it's the reverse of the other Eldrazi cards. You can set up your exile card tricks. You put a thing from exile back into the graveyard. You can set it up with this card and get a Scion. And it's instant speed, and you draw a card. You can always cycle it for just 3 mana.
It's a common.
Yeah. So the card is probably fine and limited. I was thinking of constructed because some people are talking about it.
Yeah.
To again set up your Eldrazi tricks in constructed, and it replaces itself. You can always at the end of their turn cycle this if you got nothing else going on. So there are definitely angles you could take on it.
Oh yeah.
But I don't care for it. I don't think it's worth the slot.
Blue-black Eldrazi control, I've tested with it there to see what it's like, and it's fine.
I mean, if you think about it, 3 mana for a creature and a card is probably okay.
Yeah.
That's probably fine.
It helped me get to my Eldrazi's quicker and whatnot. It was basically a Sultai Eldrazi control type thing, basically. And it worked fine. It did its job all the time. Because, on turn 2, I was usually countering something, and that meant they would have something to go into exile off of it.
Yeah.
So I'd get the Scion token, I'd get to draw a card, I'd have mana up so, I could potentially counter a spell if need be, or remove a spell, remove something if need be, things like that. So, yeah, it's fine.
Against some decks, I've just realized this puts you a turn closer to 5 mana mass removal.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. You know, at the end of the turn, if you didn't counter anything, you play this. And I guess...
Yeah.
It's kind of a push-pull.
You can cast Crux of Fate on, turn 4.
Turn 4, yeah. That's probably okay. I don't know. The more I look at it now, the more I'm like, it's okay, it's a common. You know, it's really pushed for a common. Good and limited, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's
3 mana.
Yeah, it's 3 mana. It is instant. I mean, instant speed, get a guy and draw a card is probably good, so...
But the get a guy is situational, which is what takes it down a peg.
Exactly.
Next up, we've got Swarm Surge, and this one... I want this one to be good, because it's a black overrun.
I do too. Yeah, in limited, it's a trumpet blast, more or less. 3 mana, 2+0. And in limited, this is fine, I think, because it helps you win the game before all the really crazy stuff starts happening.
Yeah.
That's cool. Helps you go up under stuff. But aside from that, I don't know, man. It's cool, too, that you guys gain first strike. I just wish it was a combat trick.
Yeah.
Sorcery speed really sucks on this card.
Exactly.
This is Sludge Crawler. I actually like this guy more than I should.
Wow.
I do. I don't think he's maybe constructed playable. If you're building the Eldrazi deck. And all it does is play Eldrazi's, I don't think so, though. But it does set up your ingest, it sets up your exile tricks later on, We need a 1-drop Eldrazi creature, and this is the thing. So, in limited, it's probably fine. And maybe not. I don't really like 1-drops in limited, but it's cool that it sets up the ingest. That's fine, too.
It sets up the ingest, and if it doesn't get through, it has potential to trade because you can pay your 2 mana to kill their...
To kill a guy, exactly, I like that it's a mana sink, too.
Yeah.
1-drops are okay and limited as long as they're mana sinks. And this will, again, set up later on down the line some tricks.
Yeah, for your Eldrazi and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's fine and limited.
Probably playable.
Next up, we've got Silent Skimmer, and... this is cute that they printed this.
What a weird card.
It's cute that they printed this, but it's terrible.
I can't decide if I like it. What I really want to do is give it vigilance. They guaranteed to take 2 damage or lose 2 life, which is technically better.
Yeah.
And it can still, be a 0/4 ass. But what I really want is for this card to not cost 4 mana.
Yeah.
That seems like a bit much.
Yeah. This could have totally been 3 and been fine.
Yeah, I did fine at 3. I would have been okay. But again, the rule in limit is that we like Windrakes. 3 mana, 2/2 flyers.
Yeah.
And this would be way better than that if it cost 3. But not it wouldn't be broken or anything. I'm not a huge fan. I'm not.
Love the artwork, though.
Yeah, it does pull double duty. You can either swing in with it to deal 2 unconditional damage, or you can leave it back as a 0/4 flyer, which is, probably good too. But maybe. I'm calling maybe in limited. Up next is Culling Drone, and again, this goes in the limited Eldrazi deck.
Yeah.
2 power, bear. It's fine.
I'm fine with this even in limited, black aggro type decks and whatnot, just because it's a 2 mana 2/2.
Yeah, you really don't. Black doesn't get too many bears. 2 power, 2 mana creatures, or at least, especially ones that have 2 toughness as well. That's not seen very often in black. So I think it's probably fine, and it's cool to ingest. In sort of the budget Eldrazi deck, you'll probably play 4 of this to set up ingest. So it's a needed card. This is one of those it has to exist, so it exists. Now here's a good card.
Next up, we get Complete Disregard, and yes.
Yeah, I love this card.
This is premium removal in limited.
Yep. Oh, I'm talking about constructed.
Constructed.
This card is constructed playable.
Yeah, it has potential for constructed playability all day.
People are going to be mad that it's 3 mana or whatever, but it exiles the guy.
It exiles the guy. That says Death Raptor.
Yep.
That says their Hangerback Walker before it gets out of control.
Pretty much, there's so many smaller dudes that we're playing, and Allies is probably going to be a thing. Elves is probably going to be a thing. People are going to try to make Goblins work, even though we lose Rabble Master.
It exiles Jace, so you can stop...
It exiles all the Planeswalkers.
Yeah.
Before they become Planeswalkers.
So they can't do Den Protector tricks with him?
Yeah. Exiles Den Protector.
Exiles Den Protector.
It's just this exiles so many of the cards we're playing. I don't see why. I've seen some people the card's okay. This card's good, man. Card's good. I've been talking about Reeve's Soul is good, and Reeve's Soul is a 2 mana, does the same thing. It's sorcery speed.
Yeah.
Right? So I've been talking about you use Reeve's Soul as your 2-drop, basically. This, you don't even have to do that. You can just this plays very well at all points of the game,
Yeah.
And instant speed just makes this card great. So I'd play it.
Wish it hit the Rhino.
Yeah, that's the only downside. Nowadays, if you don't kill Siege Rhino, you need to get out.
Yeah.
Is how people feel, but that's not true. I'm sorry.
It's not. Next up, we've got Dominator Drone, and Dominator Drone is great in limited.
Great in limited. Yeah, absolutely good in limited.
Yeah, 3 mana, 3/2, the ingest, and potential lose 2.
Extra 2, yeah.
Yeah, like just.
I mean, it's gonna be fairly easy too to get colorless creatures. You know, in the first couple of turns, we just covered a couple of them that are 1 and 2 drops. So the Dominator Drone, you're almost always gonna get the 2 life off of it, and even if you don't, 3 power, 3 mana, it's fine.
All day.
You know, plus the extra ability of ingest. People they don't talk about ingest enough, and I don't really want to go off the rails here talking about ingest, but I will say that sometimes losing a card forever off the top of your library is horrible. Mm-hmm. It's bad. Like, this isn't just mill, and like reanimator decks are going to be worse because of stuff like this. And ingest just there are times where you're going to get through for that combat damage. Ingest 1, and it's the card they need.
Yeah.
That's not Christmas Land either. It happens.
Yeah.
Up next is Mindraker, another card that seems good in limited, seems fine in limited. Especially, you know, obviously you have to be able to get the exile trigger, you know,
Yeah, like
for it
it's
to be
4
any
mana
good.
3/3 with potential upside, so we're fine.
We're
with
for it. Yeah. All the black?
that. Yep.
No way.
Yeah, that's all the black,
Holy crap.
and we are done with black.
That's
ladies
all
and
the black.
gentlemen.
That's insane. That was super fast. Oh, there were way more black cards than that.
Nope.
All right, well, that's all black. See ya. No, I'm just kidding.
If you like this video, be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. All those things help us out a lot.
A lot.
And stay tuned. We've got more set reviews and eventually getting to the deck techs.
Yeah, the deck techs are coming, don't worry. We've already done a couple of them in BFZ. I just wanted to get a couple out before we did set reviews.
Exactly.
But when we're done with set reviews, we'll pick up deck techs immediately. So stick with us. Tons of content coming out. And yeah, until next time, we're going to have blue next time you see us, and blue is pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to have that next time you see us. Stick around. I'm Dev
I'm Tony.
from SBMTG. Thank you for watching, my wizards.